And welcome back to A Moment with the Mayor as we have a conversation with the mayor of the town of Sullivan's Island, a beautiful place to go, Mayor Carl Smith. And Mayor Smith, we appreciate you being back here. And since we last met, there's a lot of things to talk about with Sullivan's Island, but the one that's sort of been in the news the most recently has been the debate over the new Sullivan's Island Elementary School. We saw recently the Savage Report had an issue, a debate about that issue. And you're the mayor of the town, and there was a time, I believe last year, where you were a lone dissenting voice in the debate, but the debate has taken on many different shapes and sizes and gone in different directions. I guess first of all, for our viewers, the idea of building a 74,000 square foot elementary school on Sullivan's Island, where does it stand right now in the process, and where are we headed towards the process of perhaps a new Sullivan's Island Elementary School?
Well, the district is moving ahead with the plans. Architect Jerry English is working on them. And I must say the plans are looking better than they did initially. However, I still have difficulties with the scale of the structure. I noticed in today's paper there was a letter to the editor. I was in the editorial section. They spoke about walking to school, DOT and walking to school. Well, depending on whose numbers you listen to, there are anywhere from 58 to 98 Sullivan's Island students that go to that school. So the balance of the 500 are bused or driven in. And that kind of contradicts walking to school, doesn't it?
Well, and also the idea of a community school. I mean, optimally, you would like to have a community school. Sullivan's Island Elementary School, we should say, has been a wonderful school for a number of years. Currently, that school is residing at the old Whitesides Elementary School on Rifle Range Road in Mount Pleasant. And there's been some people wondering what's the need of building a 74,000 square foot school on a barrier island in a hurricane zone where a majority of the students would have to actually be bused in or driven onto the island. Why not the current location where it is at Whitesides Elementary School? Has that been discussed and brought up, and what's the reaction of residents?
It has, and I must say I'm still a lone voice of opposition on this. Having served for 28 years of council, I've never been in this position, but those 28 years were dedicated to maintaining the island as we've all come to love it. And this is not about that. So to answer your question about the need for the cost, I mean, the town owns the property, and it's valued anywhere from $18 to $24 million in value that they want to put the school on. So I guess the district was saying, that, well, we've got this great land here at no cost, virtually no cost, and so we'll push ahead. There is a group that has come about, a grassroots group that's in opposition, not to a school, but to one that size, and they feel like we're bringing this value of land to the table. We ought to have some say-so in what happens. So that's where we are with that. Right now, there's a group they say they're. Well, let me step back and say, the town council decided to ask for a declaratory judgment on a referendum that was submitted to the council. I didn't agree with that. The council moving ahead, I asked for a motion to defer ratification until after a referendum, which is a legitimate certified referendum that certified certificate for a referendum was submitted to us, and that council went ahead to say, well, we're going to move forward, and I thought that was wrong.
Why?
Why? Because I think the people ought to have a voice in this thing. When you look at a timetable, and this is a Cummings-McCready timetable. And the school district started in May '09 with project discussion with McGinley, Lewis, PTSA, and parents, not council. It wasn't until May 2017, or May 17, 2011, that council was shown what was going on.
So 2 years after the process had begun,
yes.
And according to the timeline, I was going to ask you about the process as a whole. Do you feel, as the mayor of Sullivan's Island, have you heard from your constituents that the process has been transparent and open, and that people have been fully informed? Because there seems to be some belief that some people were kind of caught off guard with the ensuing plans, the scope and scale and impact of the island, and that timeline sort of backs that up. What about the process that may be unsettling to some of your constituents?
Well, they are concerned about not being told about it until this was well down the road. However, I will say that when the school board initially came to the town in a meeting with my administrator and I, they made it very clear that they had to have a new lease on the property in order to get the funding for this school. The existing lease is a 99-year lease, I believe, up in 2054. So they needed another 75 to 100 years on that lease. And we agreed to that. There was no discussion about how big the school would be. It was just the idea of that. Well, once it went into that process, then the town council had a new lease to negotiate and work with. And it was done in executive session, as contracts often are. I'm sorry that more of that couldn't have been into the public view, because there was a lot of discussion. And what it ended up with, it was a structure, 74,000 square feet, 48 feet tall, and 500 students. Well, those are three issues that pretty well dictate what a structure is going to be. It depends on its mass, its needs, and all there. So that was all done in executive session before the public really.
There's a Sullivan's Island ordinance number 2011-05 that basically states the fact that a maximum size of 74,000 square feet, that the school couldn't be built unless there was at least 500 students for that. And there seems to be some pragmatic issues about it, but let me start first of all with the fact that there is this lease agreement with the Charleston County School District. And the school district looks at Sullivan's Island Elementary School, which has been a great school. The school has now become sort of a partial charter school in environmental education. And some people would say it's to maintain the livelihood and relevance of the school, to pull people there when the attendance numbers have been dwindling. If approximately 350 students go to Sullivan's Island and only 50 to 60 of them are from the actual island, it would seem that they're going to need to lure more people from off the island to come to the island. The size and the scope also seems to be at issue with, as you said, the way that Sullivan's Island has always been. But that is in the ordinance that Sullivan's Island has right now, correct?
Which I didn't vote for. I didn't vote all three times for that, nor did I ratify that ordinance. That's true. There's a lot of concern and a lot of voices being held against that, but we feel like, and I know that it's been told to me anyway, it's hearsay, that when they closed Fraser Elementary in Charleston, it was 300 or so students, and they will not support us on a smaller school because they don't want to lose that lawsuit or whatever's going on with that. But this kind of makes me concerned that what we have is hinged on what their concerns are.
Well, and with that said, if the concern is about the student population, here comes the partial charter status to try to bump up that population to keep that community school on Sullivan's Island, when many people would say, though it would be optimum to have a community school, that in a hurricane zone on a barrier island with that kind of exorbitant, say, tax base or a property, rate, the value of that property, and the scope and size of the building itself, that would not be a place for it to go. As mayor, do you still feel that way, or what do you get from the constituents that you talk to?
Anyone would say, how could a mayor not want a school on his island? So that's the position, and I do want a school there. You mentioned it's partial magnet, not partial charter.
Partial magnet, correct.
Because charter is one of the first questions I had. Why can't we have a charter school?
Right.
And Ion has a charter school of 200 or so students, very successful. Last fall, there's a charter school in McClellanville that opened up, 115 students, K through 5. So it's happening. It's not to say it can't happen. That's been a concern, and to get back to where we are with the residents in the lawsuit, not a lawsuit, but the council is asking for a declaratory judgment from a judge. Well, in order for the group, they call themselves the smaller school for Sullivan's Island, they have to hire an attorney to represent them so that they can have the vote that they have a right to have. And I think that's wrong. Why would residents have to, if you've submitted a bona fide referendum, why would they have to pay a lawyer to make sure they get that vote? And that's where it's going.
Well, and that also is a sign of just how complex the situation is, and the story continues to unfold, and that's why we're very happy to have the mayor of the town of Sullivan's Island, Mayor Carl Smith, here. We'll talk more about Sullivan's Island Elementary School, but other issues concerning Sullivan's Island as this edition of Moment with the Mayor continues here on Comcast C2 next.